Shabbat Shalom. A friend of mine loves to give gifts to her loved one on her own birthday. Her son teases her and says, "Mom, it's your birthday. Why are you giving me a gift?" To which she answers, "I love giving gifts. Nothing gives me more pleasure." Whether giving of our time, our expertise, our energy, or our resources, giving is a way of expressing love. You may not know it, but today we celebrated a Jewish holiday, Tu B'Av, the Jewish answer to Valentine's Day. Not many of us observe it stateside, but in Israel, Tu B'Av is a day dedicated to celebrating love. And Judaism has a lot to teach on loving well. The root of the Hebrew word for love is ahava, from the Aramaic word hav, which literally translates as to give. Loving and being loved is about giving and allowing others to give to us. When we are generous of heart and we allow others to be generous with us, we are more likely to cultivate love. The Torah tells us, love God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your might. The rabbis teach that to love God is to observe God's commandments. Many commandments show us how to love well. For example, we are commanded to help the hungry when we come upon them immediately, rather than wait until we're in the mood to share our food when we feel like it. Commandments such as these help make us more compassionate and loving. The words of the V'ahavta prayer, taken from the Torah, give a kind of template as to how to love well. The prayer tells us that we are to recite the Shema when we are at home, when we are on our way, when we lie down, and when we wake up. In this way, the prayer teaches us that we need to practice every day and everywhere. This applies to cultivating love as well. It is a practice. It may seem easier to feel loving towards a close friend when we're sharing a nice meal and everything's going smoothly. But love may feel more difficult to access when the person before us acts in an irritating or angering way. In those moments, we may lose sight of our love for them. Yet, when we practice acting with love, we are more able, even in these situations, to remember that the person before us is much more than the upsetting thing that they are doing or saying. With practice, even in moments of conflict, we can still hold on to love. At other times, we may be too preoccupied with our own interests and obligations to access our feelings of empathy or generosity. Our own stress can greatly affect our loved ones when it makes us testy, impatient, or crabby with them. But when we strive to act with love, regardless of our feelings, we find we are able to avoid or diffuse needless conflict and get in touch with the things that really matter. In a famous midrash, two brothers live in ancient Jerusalem during a drought. One year, the drought was particularly harsh, and the harvest was only a small fraction of what they had been counting on for the year. The brothers split up the sheaves of wheat, and after the harvest, and they go home. The unmarried brother wakes up later that night, worrying about his younger brother, who needs enough food to feed both his wife and his children and himself. And so he decides to take the path that leads him just outside his brother's house and to add his own sheaves to his brother's pile. Meanwhile, the married brother wakes up and worries about his older brother because he's alone and doesn't have children to take care of him in his old age. And so he feels he's deserving of the extra sheaves. So he walks to his brother's home and adds some of the sheaves to his brother's pile. The next morning, both brothers wake up, and each realizes that they have the exact same amount of sheaves that they had originally in their piles. And each worries that, I don't think I gave enough to the other. So the next night, they do it again. They each get up and move their wheat to the other's pile, but as they are going along the path to do so, they meet each other in the middle. And suddenly they realize what happened and how each of them was trying to care for each other, and they embrace. And it is said that the holy temple of Jerusalem was built in that very spot where the brothers met. When we let love lead, we open the potential for deepening our connections with one another and for seeing the holiness in one another. Think of the possibilities that would emerge if we did for others what we do for the ones we love. Hillel famously said, "Love your neighbor as yourself." This is the central verse of Torah for many of the rabbis. This verse teaches the possibility of transcending our individual boundaries to connect to another's experience. And this is the heart of compassion. The Hebrew word for compassion, rechem, refers to a mother's womb. Compassion is our ability to nurture and truly protect one another. It is the path to love. Martin Buber argued that when we love another, we have access to God. When we act with love towards another, we connect to what is holy within them, within ourselves, and with the source of all holiness. In this way, cultivating love and practicing love is a spiritual journey. May we let love guide our actions, and may we bring more holiness into the world. Shabbat Shalom.